growing discussion around the National Football League in terms of Nick Foles and Carson Wentz. We heard Brett Favre, the great Brett Favre, Hall of Famer Brett Favre, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He said that if he were the Philadelphia Eagles, he would have kept Nick Foles over Carson Wentz. And yes, Nick Foles did some things for the Eagles, ultimately got the Eagles a Super Bowl title. And when I heard Brett Favre say that, and it's not unreasonable, it's not ridiculous, and in fact, it's a decent thought. Because if you look at it from the standpoint of, okay, Nick Foles just won you a Super Bowl. Nick Foles has played good football in that 2017 season in those playoffs. I mean, Nick Foles is absolutely incredible in those playoffs. The things that he did in those playoffs, there's not many quarterbacks could have done it. And I say to myself, and looking at that, yes, you can make a strong argument for Nick Foles. 2018. 2017, he gets the team to the Super Bowl, wins the Super Bowl. 2018, Carson Wentz goes down with a bad back. Nick Foles gets the Eagles to the playoffs. At that point, it didn't seem like the playoffs were a possibility. They were struggling. Wentz was struggling. But Nick Foles came off the bench, reeled off a few victories, and got the Eagles to the playoffs. So 2017, he saved the day. 2018, he saved the day. He saved the day, period, point blank. So it is a legitimate argument for those who say the Eagles should have kept Nick Foles over Carson Wentz. Maybe you say, if you're the Eagles, you know what? Let's trade Carson Wentz. There'll be a huge trade market for Carson Wentz. Many people will want to take on Carson Wentz because he's coming off that 2017 season where he put up those big-time numbers and was the MVP of the league before he ripped up his knee against the Rams. So it's not a crazy thing because if you trade Carson Wentz at that time to a team, somebody's going to offer you a lot. They're going to offer you a lot to get their hands on Carson Wentz. So it's not a crazy thought by Brett Favre. But here's what I will say. If you look at Nick Foles' career, you could talk about Carson Wentz and his inability to stay healthy. Nick Foles has a hard time staying healthy and had a hard time staying healthy throughout the course of his career. Nick Foles has not been the pillar of health. He hasn't. If you remember, Nick Foles came off the bench in 2013, put up that huge season, 27-2. But that next season, he came back as a starter and only played 8 games. He only played 8 games because he got hurt. So Nick Foles has had a hard time staying healthy. You look at Nick Foles with St. Louis. He goes to St. Louis. He's hot garbage. Ultimately goes to Kansas City, resurrects his career as a backup under Andy Reid and comes to Philly, and the rest is history. But last season, Nick Foles, again, got hurt. First game of the season against the Kansas City Chiefs, while Nick Foles was with the Jaguars, he gets hurt. And again, out for a considerable amount of time. He comes back, doesn't play that well, and ultimately he loses his job to Gardner Minshew. So Nick Foles has had a lot of struggles in his career. And if you just watch the two, and watch Nick Foles this year. I mean, Carson Wentz has had his struggles with interceptions and turnovers. But if you watch Nick Foles, it ain't much better. It's just not. Carson Wentz is the much more talented quarterback and a much more talented player. And it's not close. And it does appear that Nick Foles does have success in the Eagles system. He does. He has. It's true. But if we're talking talent for talent, who would you rather have? And I think it's a no-brainer. It's Carson Wentz. The guy, even though he's struggling with interception, is a stud. I still think Carson Wentz is a stud. And other than this year, the previous 3 seasons, Carson Wentz has had 7 interceptions apiece in those seasons. This season, he has 12. It's an outlier. It's not the usual thing when it comes to Carson Wentz. It's just not. It's not. So for those who are out here saying, oh, I'd rather have Nick Foles than Carson Wentz, you're silly. 50 shades of silly. You're ridiculous to think that. Again, I say you're ridiculous. I say it's silly, but it's not crazy. It's not super crazy because, again, Nick Foles did win a Super Bowl for you. Carson Wentz has not done that. Nick Foles did win playoff games for you. Carson Wentz has not done that. But if we're talking just pure talent, And who would you rather have? It's got to be Carson Wentz. It's got to be Carson Wentz. And I don't think it's close. And I think if the Eagles were to make that move at the time after the 2017 season, if they were to make that move, they would have looked back on it with a level of regret. Because ultimately, eventually, Nick Foles would have got hurt. It always happens. The guy's never played a full season. Nick Foles, here's the thing about Nick Foles. This guy is so streaky. He's a streaky player. So there's moments where Nick Foles will go on a great run and play some great football. We saw it with that 27-2 season, his first year as a starter. We saw that. 27-2. We saw that season. He was streaky. He was hot. We saw it in the playoffs, during the playoffs when he got to the Super Bowl. He was streaky. He got hot. So when Nick Foles gets streaky, gets hot, gets a rhythm, he's tough. He's tough. He's big time. But when Nick Foles stinks up the joint, when the streak goes the other way, it's bad. It's bad. It's not pretty. It's downright ugly. So the point I'm trying to make is this. At the end of the day, Carson Wentz is the better player, is the better quarterback. And so for anybody at the time, it would have been a massive mistake for the Eagles to trade away Carson Wentz and keep Nick Foles. It would have been a mistake. It would have been a mistake, and there would have been some remorse from the Philadelphia Eagles, Howie Roseman, Doug Peterson, and the rest of the organization. Ultimately, they made the right decision. Ultimately, they stuck with Carson Wentz. And ultimately, Wentz did get them to the playoffs last year, even though he got hurt against the Seahawks and didn't last very long in the game. So he still hasn't won a playoff game and still hasn't played very much in the playoffs. But they don't get to the playoffs without Carson Wentz and what he did. He carried that team last season. And this year, injuries have played a part, in terms of his wide receivers. He's had issues there. In terms of his offensive line, he's had issues there. But don't get me wrong. Carson Wentz has made some boneheaded decisions and made some boneheaded passes this season. There's no doubt about it. There's no getting past that part. It's true. But, the guy is a very talented quarterback. And I'm still on that Wentz wagon. I haven't gotten off. I ain't getting off. Well, maybe I'll get off at some point if it gets bad. But I think ultimately, say what you will about Carson Wentz. Say what you will about the NFC East. I mean, at the end of the day, he's probably going to lead his team to a division victory, a division title. And then, what are we going to say after that? This team will get a division title. It's that simple. They're the best team in this division. Barring anything crazy or ridiculous or out of the realm of possibility. Anything can happen. But barring anything crazy or ridiculous, the Eagles will win the NFC East.